Okay, great. Yeah, Texas is very good with foreclosures and probably tenant evictions.
Yeah, pretty landlord friendly state. I'm only maybe 8 months into it, but I haven't had any issues, which has been great. I got luck. I got a lot of interest and screened a lot of tenants and got pretty good ones in there. So, but Hemlane's been great just because the marketing and they pay through the platform. It just comes right to your bank and the accounting softwares that they have now that I haven't used yet, but I think I'll use those eventually. It's been pretty hands off.
The key to a good property manager is reducing your costs for expenses.
Right.
So just like finding the right people locally or having their own company do
Yep.
all the repairs.
Yep. Yep, for sure. For sure.
Which is not which is uncommon actually. I want to say.
You mean to find those types of managers?
You find an honest property manager that
Yeah.
bills you properly.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why
with
I'm
your
mhm,
interest in mind, keeping your interest in mind. Um,
mhm.
very difficult to find an honest property manager.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard. I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable self-managing it, so I don't know. I live close to where the units are all going to be, so I'm going to self-manage it until I'm knock on wood. I
That's
have too
great.
many that I can't,
That's
but
great. The problem with my background is I don't have any construction background,
mhm,
so um, I can't do anything hands-on, nor can I um, tell others what to do.
yeah,
So I'm kind of screwed in that, but that's why a good property manager is really helpful to me. And I have a good one in North Carolina around Charlotte.
mhm,
Um, she does everything. She's got her own company that does the construction and repairs, and so she uses her own guys, and then the local guys if she doesn't have her own people uh, for some of the things. But I don't get bothered. She goes ahead and fixes up whatever needs to be fixed,
mhm.
and I just take she takes it out of the rental
And the rent.
the rent. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything. That's the nice part, and seems pretty honest in terms of costs and
Mhm.
expenses. So works out great for me.
Yeah, it's good that you found are you located close to your units or units kind of all
I,
over the place?
I'm in I'm in Orange County, which is
Oh,
the
okay.
Los Angeles area,
Yeah.
and so this one's in North Carolina. I've just had I got one in Jackson, Mississippi, and I cannot find anybody reliable to either work on it or property manage it for me.
Yeah.
Who's the if you don't mind me asking, who's the one in Charlotte? Because I live near there.
Well, the city is actually Monroe. Um, let me look up the company name. Why you got something going on there?
It's one of the areas I thought about potentially investing near because it's only about an hour and a half from where I live / invest. So
And the guy who's talking, they said he's an hour and a half out of Charlotte. Where are you invested at? I live in Yadkinville.
it's in live in Winston-Salem.
You live in okay? Well, I live in Yadkinville, so I'm right there. I got two. I got two properties there in Walnut Cove, and
Hmm?
actually getting ready to supposed to be. I got a court date on this one in Greensboro, but it should be in that one there pretty soon. So
Yeah, I remember. I think you were saying the other day it's like they're all backlogged or whatever with evictions, and that was causing your
well,
problems.
yeah, it's just that one that's in Greensboro. But actually, I got a letter from the attorney today, so I think we're supposed to do some mediation on the 30th. So definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, but no, I didn't know you was that close. That's good stuff, though.
Hmm.
I had a place in yeah, so sorry, I got logged off somehow. What were you saying?
To me or Val?
To you. You're saying something about your need in that area of North Carolina.
Yeah, so it's one of those, because it's like I think it's the biggest city in North Carolina. I thought about trying to do what Dion was doing and investing like near it, but not in it necessarily. And so it's just always, if you found a good property manager that's really good in that area, it's just always good to
They-
have that info.
yeah, it's just the prices have like doubled or tripled. So I cannot like now I look, it's like the rent to price is just like it's like California now. It's like you probably get like $1,000 for in rent for a $200,000 property, or maybe even 300,000. So it doesn't calculate out anymore. But let me see what company that was. You can write it. Actually, if you I'll give you my phone number. You can text me, and I'll send you the contact information.
Okay.
657 256 2099.
Okay. Will do.
Cool. All right. Still have not found anybody for Jackson, Mississippi. Success story. I want to say I rented out. I got my my commercial property. It's an office space, 2,000 square feet, Detroit, Michigan. I got it rented out for $2,000 a month with a little bit of triple net, not fully triple net. So they will pay my property tax, which is crazy, $4,000 on, some they said was 50,000 on the tax rolls. So, yeah, 2,000 1 year lease. So really happy about that. I fixed it up. Let's see, I put total, I want to say 130, 140 into it, including the purchase price. So I'm leaning towards commercial these days because I can't make money off of residential just due to the repair costs. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it is quite challenging. Commercial sounds quite a bit more challenging than residential.
Actually, no, because with more sane people, and then you don't have to worry about the interior. Like, you give them something that's decent, and then yeah, if there are any interior repairs or anything, plumbing, electrical, it's all their issue once you rent it out, and then you be responsible for his exterior and the HVAC.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit more of the financing. In our case, my wife isn't comfortable with the commercial financing aspect, waiting on balloons to end and things like that.
Oh yeah, it's like 5 years, but I do everything cash, so I don't have any of that. Those issues. I know, like the time to buy is like winter time in Detroit because there's nothing going on. There's no transactions. People are not working. There's not much going on. So the time to buy is wintertime, like December. And then because people are not working either, like if you buy something, you can't repair it in the wintertime. You have to wait until April or May to get people in there to work.
Hey, Frank.
Yeah,
I think Mike Zuber, he was mentioning that there are loan products that you can get 30-year fixed for a commercial.
Are you talking about
but that's only up to 8? Yeah, it's only up to 8 units though, right?
No, I don't think so.
Multifamily?
No.
Oh wow, interesting. Is that through
Yeah,
Convoy?
I was surprised too. I think it was through Convoy, but
okay.
I've heard it several times, and I thought, oh, and I think it's DSCR, so that's something you might at least look into if you're looking to go into that a little bit more. But yeah, I would agree that that's sort of what would scare me off of doing it. If you have to get an arm.
Yeah, at first, that's good to know. We'll have to check in with Zuber about that. Because I know for a long time they were promoting the 5 to 8 units, 30-year fixed stuff. And I didn't hear that you can get it on larger properties, because I think right now he's kind of circling around some larger stuff, right? 10 to 20 units or something he mentioned the other day.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have like meeting minute notes or follow-up notes? Or would you post, if you find that out, Frank, will
Yeah.
you post that in school?
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you find out that you can do commercial or you can do 30-year fixed on big commercial, that changes everything. I switched today.
Okay,
Because I
yeah.
have the same concerns Cynthia does.
Yeah, she likes to, well, I want her to sleep well at night. If she sleeps well, I can sleep well. Yes, and I mean the lending stuff changes like week to week. That's one thing that we've been going over with our lender on the stuff that we've been buying over the last several months. And one of the things that always keeps me hopeful, because when you think one good program ends, another one pops up next week just to help us keep moving forward. So that's always been nice. We Chris isn't here yet, but he was the one asking about whether people self-manage or have property managers, and some of the challenges that people are facing. I know Chester just closed on his first property, and the company that he purchased with has basically in-house property management. Is that right, Chester?
Yes, basically. Mm-hmm.
Have you been in contact with them this week?
Yep. Doing all the onboarding, getting to know everybody, setting up all of the accounts and everything like that. So if you've ever enjoyed paperwork, dealing with property managers is the way to go.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I know we ours, well, since we've kind of been concentrating on the St. Louis market, we're a little bit used to them and their systems, but I'm really happy with that property manager. But admittedly, they do have an upcharge on the maintenance. So we've gotten a couple of estimates for the new property that we closed on a couple of weeks ago. And they're upfront, they'll get the estimates for us, and they add 12% on top of that to, I guess, manage the work, get there, and coordinate all that. I was talking to someone earlier this morning about that, and Matt is always on us, letting us know that the property managers are making quite a bit more than we're making on the properties and things like that. But I can't really imagine starting in an area where we don't have contacts already. It'd be pretty tough, like you guys were saying about finding honest people to work with. And Millennial Mike is always about, and Matt too, getting into the local Facebook groups and landlord groups in whatever market we're researching in. And that might ease that frustration a little bit. I don't know. I know Jason manages his building himself. Val, do you manage your stuff yourself? Maybe he's not there. I know Mikey's working, but Mikey has property managers as well.
I'm sorry, I had you on mute. I'm working too, but I can still talk. Yes, I do. I got one Section 8 that I am managing, and then but my house that I'm managing as well. She's not a big issue, but I will. And like you said, listening to some of the other guys, I don't. I drive. I have a 9 to 5, and so I'm a truck driver. So
Mhm.
I'm driving now. I'm up in Baltimore, headed to Jersey. But I do this every day. So I'm only home like twice. I'm just only home on the weekends, and so this next property, I brought a property manager in, uh, but kind of listening also. Just trying to use some different strategies. No, I don't want to give up the money. About like the lumberjack, but I don't want to take the phone calls to do the emails and do all this tenant screening. I've done it, and so I can kind of be hand in hand, and I'll beat the tenant once it's done. But I really don't want the what am I trying to say? I don't want the monthly, because here we go again. When I go in, I try to clean them all up to where, hey, we don't have to touch them for a while. So I'm just kind of like, well, for the next, 4 or 5 years, you're going to be getting free money because there's nothing should be happening to the properties. Understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep my Section 8. I'll stay hands on with her because she needs a little bit more attention. But moving forward, yeah, I definitely want to just let somebody handle the screening and taking that part of it. Because, like I said, I'm on the truck, and so even still, I'm able to make phone calls, this, that, and the third. And so, if you got the property manager, he could do some of that, and and then I can just kind of focus on, like I said, getting deals and doing the rehabs. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. We had a few issues over the last couple of weeks, and going through that experience, I mean, it was still a little bit stressful, even though the property manager was dealing with it, just because plumbing is just one of the worst things. But I couldn't, at the time, I was thankful. I couldn't imagine trying to deal with that from a distance. And across the board, we're probably 9% for property management fees. Some are 8, some are 10. So we kind of land somewhere in the middle. And it probably across the whole portfolio, it's probably close to $1,000 a month across the 10 doors. And it would be nice to have that in our pockets, but at the same time, I don't think it's too much to give up for somebody else to deal with those issues that can deal with them right away.
That's pretty good, Frank. I'm paying $2,500 a month on 3 properties, 15%. So different
That's strong.
strategy. So I'm okay doing it. I'm just saying, $1,000 sounds good to me.
Yeah, I imagine it would. But Jared, you were talking last week or a little bit before that about, because you still get take quite a few of the calls yourself, don't you, about different issues and things?
I take, let's see, am I on mute? I take the maintenance requests. So they handle, so for people that don't know, I rent by room. So totally different deal. Lucrative, but obviously you got to deal with more crap. So if you don't want to deal with crap, by the way, I'm out of state. I live in Oregon. Properties in Arizona. So I have three in Arizona. I use Pad Split, if you've heard of that. But they handle all the member acquisitions. I call them member because we don't call them tenants. It's a legalese thing. But yeah, they handle all the member acquisition, all the payments, which is week to week, all that crap. The only thing I have to deal with is maintenance requests. So like when something comes in, it comes in through the category of maintenance, and then I have plumbers, electrician. Well, I don't have any electricians anymore, but handyman. Last guy, I'm looking for an electrician, but in general, I have plumbers, handyman, cleaning ladies, all that stuff handled. So.
Okay, yeah, it seemed like kind of a mix, like Brendan was talking about, Hamlin taking care of a certain a certain amount of the work, and he handles the rest. I think Dion is doing a similar thing where he has Hamlin for a few of his units, and he'll go up or down the tiers depending on what he needs. When, like he says, when he's traveling, he'll go probably full tilt on the units that they have already. But when he's around, he drops it down to the first level. So he handles, I think he handles more of the maintenance stuff and rent collection and things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to have Dana on soon so we can get a lot more questions answered about that whole process. I had looked into it once a long time ago, but it didn't work out for us. But I think it could be good for a lot of people that are closer to their units maybe and can, you know, drop by and handle part of the work anyway. Let's see. Sam, you haven't been here in a while. How are you doing? Maybe he's working too. Sam's in Texas too, by the way, Brendan. Maybe he's busy right now, but let's see what else we got. Jack, are you working? Maybe he's working. It might still be a little bit early for some of the folks on the other side of the world. You know, Esther is using property management on her stuff in Gary. Are you there, Esther?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. So some of us were just talking about if we self-manage or have property managers, and I know you have property managers on the Indiana properties, but do you have property management for your local rentals?
Yeah, I have property managers for all of my rentals.
Okay. And why, I guess my first question would be why you have property managers on the properties that are local to you.
For me, it's just easier not to associate with the tenant.
Okay. Have you had pretty good luck on
With the tenants.
maintenance?
I think it's a personality thing, actually. You know, like I would try to do a lot of things for other people. So if they're asking, I just don't want to deal with too much asking.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think I've mentioned before, we had managed for a little while a property for my mom not too far from where we live, and it was easier to have a property management deal with any issues that came up.
Yeah. I have questions, you guys.
Yeah.
So how do you guys cope with the vacancies? For example, or turnover vacancies. I have like 3 vacancies right now waiting to be filled, and other than having, you know, a buffer for a couple months or so to cover the mortgage, emotionally, how do you guys handle it? Sometimes the vacancies take a long time to be filled, you know, like could be 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks, but could be 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, so how do you guys handle it?
Maybe I'll start off. I think we did have that issue on the triplex. It took about 6 weeks to get tenants in there after we remodeled. And I was a little bit surprised at that. But like you, I mean, I know we all are supposed to have enough reserves to handle issues like that. But even so, it is, it's a little bit hard to stay patient and just watch your money, go down the drain with, while you're waiting. But also just, I think,
I don't think you can look at it that way, Frank. I mean, if you do an average across the year, the way I deal with it is different, but I think you have to. I'll explain. I was at like 60% across 3 properties, had to replace a $7,000 AC unit, and I was getting pretty depressed until I thought of things this way, which is over the course of time, over a year, if you dollar cost average or however you want to say it, it works out. So you have your reserves, you get through the, like Zuber says, the first 5 years suck. Right? And I think that's part of it. So if you look at it over a year or 2, like pull back and then look at it from like a longer duration, and or at least try to, and then that helps. That helped me anyway. So I'll throw that out there.
yeah, no, I think that's helpful. I think
Sometimes
that's,
I'm thinking, like, is this property gonna ever rent it?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
kind of silly, is it?
from an emotional perspective, I mean, it shouldn't feel good to not get your unit rented, right? I mean, you want that to feel bad to motivate you to take care of getting somebody in. So it's probably helpful to have a little bit of pain around that, like you said, Frank. It's like watching the money go away. That's not supposed to feel good, right? So I think the thing I would add though is that I think there's the price, there's the rent that you could get somebody to rent it at today because it's such a good price, because it's such a good rate. And then there's the market rate that might take 6 to 8 weeks or more to get it rented at. And then there's a really high rate that it might take 6 months to get it rented at, right? And so I think it's important to run the numbers on, hey, if we rent it the next like 2 weeks because it's such a good rate and it's going to get somebody in there really, really quickly. Versus if we hold out for the amount that we think the market will pay, but it's going to take 8 weeks, do we lose or win? Like, I want to actually pro forma or look at how much are we making or losing depending on what our rate is compared to when it gets rented. Because if you want to rent it for more, it will take longer to get a tenant. If you want to rent it for less, it's going to take less time to get a tenant, because the market will rent your place quickly at the right price. You just may not want to rent for that.
The only reason why I'd hold off on rentals is to find a good candidate for renting. Somebody that's going to trash your place, which is my main concern. So it's better off to hold off in that case if you're not finding any candidates. So, I mean, if you hold off 2 months, maybe even 3 months, you're going to come out ahead because your place is not going to get trashed. But if it's like a hot market, you can just imagine if you have a $1,200 rent, you miss out on a month. That's $100 a month right there. I mean, you got to do the calculations.
That's what I was saying. That's my point. It's like the math is most important to appreciate what the ramifications are, the win and the loss, depending on what you're renting it for. I mean, we see it in our market. Like, there's so many places that just never really get rented. They go on and off the market. They change the price, $50 here, $50 there. These are people that are losing tens of thousands of dollars because they're not willing to do what's necessary to get the damn unit rented. They should be feeling more pain, right? Like that, they should be more emotional about it than they are. I'm sure there's markets that are so cold where you really literally just have to wait. But there's all sorts of ways to get that place rented. And if you're losing thousands of dollars because you held out, other than what Nitesh, what
I'd
you said,
rather-
like for a better tenant, somebody's not going to trash your place, then
Yeah,
you
and
made a
rather-
mistake. You made a mistake in the math.
I'd rather rent it for a lower price because then also the person's gonna stick around more too.
Exactly. In fact, I'm not sure if we talked about this last time, but I remember literally asking Lumberjack, is it legitimate to lower your rent to get somebody in, and then in a year go ahead and raise their rent more aggressively because now they live there and they don't want to just leave? And I think we talked about it last time, and he said yes. So to me, it's like a vacant property is the devil. You know, that's evil, right? I want to eliminate that as quickly as I can with a decent tenant that's going to be there for a long time, right? With those understanding there's criteria around that. And if I have to give up $1,000 to get somebody in a month earlier, then I'm really not losing that much. And then I'm going to make it up when I raise their rent over the next 5 years because they want to live there for a long time. That's to me, that's the long game, you know?
See, if it's a good renter and I see that over the year, I am not gonna raise the rent because you cannot firstly replace a good renter. And secondly, the cost of finding someone else is way greater than not raising the rent.
Well, Nitesh, that depends on the market, right? So if you're in the market where it's not competitive enough to raise the rent, that's fine. But in our market, we could jack up rents and keep our tenants all day long
I'm
because
saying like $50 rent increase. I'm not I'm not worried about $50 a month.
Do you guys usually wait to lower the rent for, after posting 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or how long do
for
you
me
guys?
it's 2. Yeah, it's about 2 weeks. If it doesn't look right in 2 weeks, we're going to take action.
Okay.
I mean, I will lower the rent up to a point, because then it's like if I'm on 10% underneath the market rate, then there's something wrong with the property. And then you're like dealing with, I'm not going to rent it out to anybody. That's step one, is I'm not going to rent it to anybody that comes along. And then step two, the price is always negotiable.
Yeah, so for sure the property should be rented, right?
The property will always be rented. It's just a matter of finding a good tenant and then coming
Yeah.
to
It's
terms with
just
that tenant.
it's just in my mind. It's just like waiting and waiting. I'm thinking, is this property gonna be rented eventually?
But if you have over 700 credit and under 800, okay, I'm not going to deal with anybody over 800, but between 700 and 800, you tell me your price and I'll give you the key.
Esther,
see. Yeah.
the properties that you're talking about are in Washington or in Indiana?
In Washington, yeah. I think I have very good property managers. The one in Washington, she always give me idea that, okay, don't post it at this price. or don't raise this amount, I feel like she's always under the market, so
What did you have it rented for, and
I feel
what's
like
the market rent?
unusual. Pardon me?
What did you
I'm
have it
sorry?
rented for? What did you have it rented for last, and what's the market rent now?
So 1995, right? And then the market is about 2100, 2150.
But you have to have a perfect property to rent it at market rate.
Yeah, I have new homes.
Do they give you any updates about have people been inquiring about it, or does is there traction on it and just nobody sign a lease, or or does she keep you in the dark? Like, does she tell you?
Yeah, usually they don't say anything. I'm the one checking after 2 weeks.
Oh, you check like the Zillow listing?
3 weeks, you know. Yeah.
The
Oh,
I was going to say the property manager that we have on the triplex, they'll check in with us each week. Like I said, it took about 6 weeks to fill those units, but each week they would say, like Brandon mentioned, you know, how many inquiries, how many applications. They would get down to a couple that they were doing the final checks on, and they just didn't work out right at the end. But that kind of thing, it seems like the property manager should at least be letting you know that without you having to chase them down. Right. But Jeffrey had a lot of great
Yeah.
points. And I think too, Jeffrey, another thing that kind of plays into that we've talked before about is, you know, purchasing a property and running your numbers on the purchase, and maybe you end up putting a little bit more money into I'll call it rehab for lack of a better term, but then your yield goes down. But I personally am not too concerned about that, because like Dion says, I mean, next year it's going to be a whole different game, right? So, I mean, unless you dump like too much money into it, but I'm saying like $1,000 or $2,000, and then you're worried that you're putting too much into it. But after next year, it's all going to be moot.
Esther,
okay.
I remember, and I came into this conversation, so someone may have already mentioned this, but I remember Zuber saying before, when he had been through some periods where rent got soft, that what he would do is like, instead of lowering rent, he would like give a month free or something like that, or maybe the second
Yeah,
month
like,
free or
Yeah, I
something.
remember saying that.
yeah, like $500 off, something like that.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, like half off the second month or second month free or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's good idea. Thank you so much, guys. It's just
Yeah.
like
I mean, again,
Super said, right? Super said the first 5 years sucks.
This
So
just happened to us.
I'm only 2 years now.
Yeah, this just happened to us in that historic neighborhood. The market rents over 1,500. We rented it for 1,350 to a really great set of tenants. We're really happy with them. They're happy with us, and we lost money, right? But we got it rented, and we have a tenant. And if we had left it where it was, I don't even know if it would still be rented. I don't know if it would be rented by now, because the applications and the inquiries that people are getting at that rate at this point in the market are very, very, very low. And we are going to increase their rent next year, you know. So we took a haircut, we took a hit on it, but you know what? At least we're cash flowing. You know, we have money coming in. You know, that's the most important thing, in my opinion.
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah. Hi, Basilio.
Okay. Yeah. A minute ago I was trying to talk, but I think I was having some issues with my microphone. So no, I mean, for me, because I was listening to the whole question and situation about vacancy, like I will avoid or try to avoid vacancy at all costs. And if that means lowering the rent, even though that might bring potential applicants that are not the ideal applicants that I want to have, that's part of the whole screening, right? And the job that we need to do, and the property managers, to ensure that we're getting the right tenants in the property. But at the end of the day, especially if we're talking about properties that have a mortgage on it, right, where we have mortgage payments every month, right, we definitely don't want to
Yeah.
be dealing with a lot of vacancies. So I want to keep that to the minimum, right? And I think that the first question that needs to be asked, right, when you have this issue where you keep this property vacant, after some time, you know, you need to start wondering, okay, what's wrong with the property, right? Is there something wrong with the property itself, right? Or is there something going on with the rent? That's why part of like the whole situation with dealing with vacancy, I think, is also researching yourself as an investor, not only relying on the property manager, but also doing your own research on what are the rents on the area, and then seeing if maybe that's what you need to work on to get the property rented as soon as possible. Sometimes it could be not even the property or the rent, but you are just in a bad location, for example. I'm not saying that's your case, but I know that if you buy a property in the wrong location, you could deal with those issues too, right? You deal with vacancies for a long time. So that's all part of the research that we proactively as investors should be doing as well, right? So that way we can minimize potential vacancy with these properties, because at the end of the day, I think that's one of the biggest items that will kill our investing journey, right? And get us into a situation where we can end up losing properties, right? Especially if we have mortgages on these properties.
Yeah.
So I will definitely deal with lower rents, but I want stability. I don't want to be dealing with vacancy because definitely that will be a big issue, right? So Esther, what I will say, me personally, my recommendation is for you to start doing some research on the property, the area, look at the rent amounts and see if maybe you have to lower the rents. I have heard sometimes that also there are some issues inside the properties that could discourage people from renting the property. It could be something as simple as doing something in the property that you have to fix or change for the property to be more attractive to applicants. Those are just my thoughts, that I wanted to share with you. I hope that helps.
Yep. Some people I hear that, oh, so many people applying for so many applicants, so I never experienced that so far. But the first year it got all rented. So this is the second year coming to the third year. Couple of them move away, and one they have, I think three of them. Three vacancies. Three of them have to move away. So one of them bought a house actually. Finally, ended up bought a house. So it's not like that the tenant trust the house, but it's unavoidable for them. They have to move away. So anyway, yeah. Hopefully, yeah, I'll look into that. Maybe I think lowering the rent a little bit might help. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, lower cash flow, but get a lower vacancy or no vacancy. That's definitely better, than
Yeah.
than not getting
Yeah.
any cash flow or any money at all and dealing with vacancy too.
Yeah.
That's, and then you have mortgages as well. If you have a loan on this property, definitely not a good scenario, right?
Yeah. That's
So
good.
I
Yeah.
hope you can get those rented really soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, stay positive, Esther. I think maybe it's feeling daunting because it's 3 units at once. It's not just one, not just one. But we're going through the same thing. We just closed on 2 properties, right? So they're doing a little bit of rehab. We got to fill those 2, and one of our tenants in one of our existing units is leaving after this month. So we're going to have 3 to fill as well. I was going to mention. You saw the property we have in Gary. When we first got that property, it went on for rent for 4 weeks, and after the 4th week, they suggested dropping the rent by $50, and then it took another couple of weeks for us to fill it at that lower rent. But I would, and like they were saying earlier, if it's a little bit lower rent, but you're not just sticking a body in there, I think you'll be happy that you waited for the right tenant.
Yeah.
Another important thing, Frank, I was going to mention also is that sometimes it's not even the property or the rent or none of those factors, but sometimes it's just the time of the year. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I know, at least in my market, I don't know if it's the same for you guys. I'm assuming it is. If you are trying to get a property rented during the holidays or close to the end of the year, it's way harder than other months throughout the year. And why is that? Well, people, school already started. People don't like to move around this time of the year. So you're going to have, therefore, less people looking for rentals. So all those are factors and things that could definitely impact, your property getting rented. So you're going to have less people at this time of the year, for example, that will be looking for property. So something else to think about. That's why, like, if I have a rental right before the end of the year, like on the market, and in 2 weeks, if I don't get it rented, I will be lowering or looking at lowering the rent, because I don't want to be falling into vacant properties at the end of the year, because that could literally mean I will stay with these properties until January vacant, potentially. And this is something that my property manager has advised me to before.
Exactly what I'm worried about. What I'm thinking, it's getting into the fall
Yeah.
season and then the holiday.
So I'm wondering, is that the same? Have you guys seen the same scenario in your markets where, like, the last months of the year, you guys have more challenges or issues trying to rent properties, or less demand?
Definitely, yeah,
Is
definitely
that
less
true, right, for
demand.
you guys?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And I don't even live in a cold, super cold place. You know, I live in a pretty mild climate. It's still the same.
Yeah, people just don't want to move. It's not
Yeah.
about, it's not even necessarily a weather thing. It's like, hey, we're busy partying and getting gifts and New Year's and everything. They don't want to stress out about that at that time.
Hmm.
Hey guys, if you can hear me, yeah, that's one thing I was just put a video today about that, and I was asking myself and I was asking everyone in the video, and I said, like, would you buy a property at this time? Well, why would you want to buy a property at this time? And the reason why I was asking is because like everyone says, when it's not the prime time to find the best tenant, which is the summer and so on. Well, from now on till maybe next summer, well, there's probably not much demand. So now if we buy it, yeah, you may find a tenant, but it may be hard to find that great tenant that you're looking for. And so it's this time of the year where, if you buy now, there's some risk of not being able to rent it at the right price and for the right tenant.
Yeah, those are all good points, Sam, too, because we've over the years, we're in the Midwest and winters are really harsh. So on some of our units, it took a lot longer to get the work done. Like Mitesh was saying, in Detroit, kind of the work just stops. But these guys in the Missouri market, they kept working. It's just like, how do you paint an exterior of a house when it's snowing and things like that? So it just takes a lot longer. So I was just thinking this week that everything we buy from here on out, we're going to try to do it, spring in the springtime or summer, so it can be accomplished by fall. But like I said, with these 3 units that we're going to have to fill, it is going to be fall. So we'll keep you guys posted on how that part goes.
This was just a giant plot to suck Chester into being a landlord, and now the rents are going to get soft across everywhere now that he's in. Right,
Yeah,
Chester?
he's doomed.
It's always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, I know, Chester, with you and the turnkey provider, sometimes, and I guess it wasn't this way in your case, but a lot of times the turnkey providers have tenants in place when the new owners take over. And that was appealing. And I guess there's 2 ways you could look at it, right? You hope the turnkey provider didn't just stick a body in there to sell the property, but if the turnkey provider has in-house property management, I think they're less likely to just throw anyone in there because they don't want to deal with problems either. So in your case, they work really closely with the property management company, so they'll look for better applicants for you too. So, and that's how we got started with turnkeys. I think we had 3 turnkey properties that we bought, and all of them came with tenants. So that was a plus.
Okay. So that'll be I'm gonna start looking at duplex or multifamilies. I won't just say limited to duplex, but we're gonna be looking at multifamilies. I don't know if it's gonna be like immediately, but at least start the search here in the next like month or so, and then really just kind of based on what's available in the market, see whether anything is, again, still has to be a good deal, nothing, arbitrary, so to speak, still got to do the work, basically was what I was trying to get at. But yeah, it's definitely going to be going from, no properties to hopefully within, I don't know, maybe 3, maybe 4 years, getting to, the 5 or 10 mark. So it's a little bit of an aggressive timeline, but that's for me, it's a personal goal, but does also bring some, what's a good way to put it, like things to consider as far as strategies, if you will, for when you start getting later into the year. And the thing that I'm thinking about mostly is like incentives versus discounts, 1 month off versus like offering amenities, things like that. So these are definitely things that are valuable to think about, especially from a timing perspective, like September, October, November, December. So these are all definitely really good conversations to have.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully your unit will get filled quickly. Let's see who else jumped in. Josh, you're there. We were talking about property managers or self-management, and I don't recall what you do. Do you manage your units?
I mostly have property management. We've had one that we self-managed when our first property manager died. So when that person died, then and that was my favorite property manager ever. He was great. And then the company got sold, and then it just went downhill. So we've kind of jumped around a little bit, but I'm in 2 different markets. So I have property management for my one property out of state, and then our couple properties in state I have with a property manager now too. And I'm getting ready to do a turn also. So listen to everybody here talking about, it's softening and just stuff kind of sitting for a little bit. It's like, yeah, I'm in the same boat. So, but doing okay. My property manager, I've just been in communication with them, and they said they've got, potential good person already lined up. So we're hoping that one's going to pan out. But the last one just moved on. So we haven't been sitting a long time yet. But I think that's where it's important to just listening to Chester and everybody who's starting out. I think it's just in these times where it starts getting leaner and tougher, just making sure you protect yourself by keeping good reserves is a smart way to go if you want to be able to sleep at night and that kind of stuff, just because you don't know where things are going to go. I'm more on the conservative side, so I tend to probably grow a lot slower than everybody else just because I'm that way, and my wife is probably even more so. So I'm the one pushing him, trying to get the next property and that kind of stuff, and she's like, wait a minute, let's slow down here. But you got to work together and find each other's comfort spot so you can each sleep at night and make it work together. At least if you're married, you do.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I got going on in my neck of the woods.
Well, that's good. Definitely, we appreciate you. I thought of a couple of things while you were talking. So
what's that?
You mentioned the first property manager.
Yeah.
That you really, really loved. What did you love about him?
You know what? They had an automated system, which even our existing one does now, but it was just like the way they communicated and really just went through everything, and it was just really just on it, like when someone was going to be ready to move on, kind of like Lumberjack talks about, is like already having that next person kind of lined up so that when there is that turn, you're not waiting for, oh, this one's now empty. Okay, now let's start marketing it. And sometimes I feel like the other ones are just not as on the ball until that place is actually sitting there empty, that they actually start the marketing, and you're like, okay, that, it just sets you up another week or month behind, where if it was already
Okay.
being marketed before the
Period.
person's out of
FYI,
there.
that request was originally sent to you over a week ago.
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I think just that was one thing, is just communication, handling of everything. They had great contacts for subs. So like I had the plumber that they had brought in. I ended up using that plumber on other projects just because I went there when he was there doing work, and I could see he was really competent and followed through, clean workmanship and all that. And I ended up using him other places. So, they have good subs. They're going to have subcontractors when I say good subs. So, their tradesmen that they're going to bring in for repairs and that kind of stuff is, that's a lot of it. Just like a good contractor has good subs, and that's how they take care of stuff and do a good job.
Great.
So,
yeah, I think that communication is key, right? Because we have like, I don't even know now, I think we have 5 different property managers, and some of them just let things roll, right? And I don't need to be involved in every single step, but if rent's going to be a little bit short for some reason, just shoot me an email, or because if I'm counting on $1,000 coming in for some reason, and I just got notice that they did some repairs, so it was $350, right? Not that we're not spending any of our cash flow right now, but it's still kind of a shock that you get $650 instead of $1,000. That kind of thing. It just, we are going through one eviction right now, and just to kind of be kept up to speed on the process and that kind of thing, I keep finding myself having to keep reaching out and pestering them to get the information out of them.
Yeah, let you know what phase you're at or stage you're at.
And I guess
that is huge.
Yeah, but I guess I have to realize too that I'm not their only client, right? Hopefully I'm somewhat of a priority, but if they're managing, 100 or 300 or 400 units, they can't, they don't always have time every day to check in with every single one of us.
Yeah, and that's where I wish, like, I could see the advantage of being, let's like say like Zuber, of being all in one market, is especially if you have them with one property management company where you're more important to them. If you're just a onesie twosie person versus, hey, I've got 10 properties with you, they're going to suddenly probably treat you a little bit better, or hopefully, or you start ticking up in numbers, because they're going to be like, hey, we want to keep the Joneses happy, because we don't want them to walk away with a bunch of properties, and treat them right. It's sad that's the way it is, but it's a numbers game. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're buying one thing or 10 or 100, it's going to definitely impact the percentage that break you can get by having more properties with, one company versus a couple, or that kind of thing too.
Yeah, I think that's what Zuber says too, right? Is he at 7 or 8% property management
which is
fees?
awesome, because I'm having to pay 10.
Right. Yeah, just like us.
Yep.
But yeah. So, and it's going to take a while before we have enough units to be considered a big fish, but we're working on it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be a small fish in that pond first, right?
Small fish is a prerequisite to being a big fish.
That's right. Just hope you don't get snatched up before you become the big fish. Yeah,
sure. For sure. Yeah,
we have been kind of looking. We do love that Gulf Coast, and that is one thing we have looked at, which is a little out of our wheelhouses. We've started looking at more vacation properties, like condo or vacation kind of beach house type thing. And I'd love to get something that we can rent out, and the rental market still seems, strong on that kind of stuff for the areas that we're looking at, kind of down in the Alabama and Florida panhandle area. But some areas are having a hard time, but the insurance is still it's a killer in all of Florida, a lot of those areas down there. So that's the one thing I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ready to jump into another property where you got to deal with trying to shop around for insurance. And in the next year, the dang insurance just like jumps. I mean, I'm sure, Basilio, you probably are hearing and seeing more about that being in that Florida market, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. By the way, were you talking about insurance, right? Sorry, I just got
Yeah,
sidetracked here for a
insurance. Yeah,
minute.
insurance. Just
Yeah,
Florida
that is a
especially. Yeah.
that is a pain here. Not
Yeah.
only we're getting increases on the premiums all the time, but
Yeah.
also you have these companies canceling the
Yep.
policy randomly just due to all kind of reasons. Some of them are like really like ridiculous reasons why they are canceling the policies. Essentially, they're looking at things that are not even things that were a big deal before, but now it's just
Mhm.
a pain. Yeah, and I know
I
that
had an insurance
citizens.
company. They
Yeah,
were concerned because the water supply line going to one of the toilets in my Florida property,
yeah,
the water
yeah,
supply line behind the valve, there was an escutcheon on there, and it had a little bit of rust on the escutcheon. And this property was built around 2000 or so. It's not an old place. It's not brand new, but it's not like some ancient place. And I'm like, I've got a picture of it. And I'm like, there's barely anything. I feel like they were just like nitpicking. It's like, oh, we can see a little flake of rust on there. So they're worried about the pipes or something. It's showing rust on it. I'm like, it's the escutcheon thing on there. And anyway, we ended up having to have the toilet replaced later on. I'm like, make sure they replace all the escutcheon on there. So it's a nice brand new, shiny chrome one. So they don't freak out about silly little
yeah.
stuff.
They've
Yeah.
been doing that lately, definitely. And one thing that I did recently, I had my wife help me out with this, by the way. She went through all our properties and the policies that we have, kind of
Mhm.
like doing a review of all the insurance policies and essentially just looking for opportunities to save money
Yeah.
in any of the policies. I didn't have time for that, during the day because I have a W-2, so I was pretty busy
Right.
and I was asking her, like, hey, can you help me with this? She did take a look at the policies, and what we did was that essentially she found that we had a couple of things that we could basically work on, as far as like raising the deductibles on the policy
Mhm.
for some of the coverages, and that's what we
Right.
have done recently to kind of like
That's what we did too.
reduce the premiums, and that has
Right.
helped a little bit.
Yeah. Because if it's something
So
small, I can handle it out of pocket. But
exactly.
it's mainly the big things that I got to worry about or want to deal with. So I want
And
them to
and let and let me
cover.
tell you, like, unless you guys really look at the policies, you'll be surprised when you review those policies. If you start looking at all the different
Yeah.
coverages, like you're gonna find that there's a lot of stuff in there that the insurance agencies they are putting
Loopholes.
that sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, like things that you don't even need or things that
Yep.
you didn't even know that you had in the policy that
Yeah.
you can get rid of.
Hmm.
That
Any way
definitely
they
will
can
help.
deny you. I
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So I've been doing that lately with my wife, kind of working on that, and it's helping. Definitely lower the premiums a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah,
That's a funny market down there because it's where I'm at in Eastern Washington. It's like, oh, you buy a roof and it's like, oh, it's a 25-year roof or a 35-year roof. And a lot of times, that roof will last that long on the house. It's perfectly fine. In Florida, they're like, oh, that roof's over 15 years. And you're like, well, it's a 30-year roof on that house. It's like, yeah, but it's over 15 years. And so we're not going to cover it. You're going, there's not anything wrong with it. But they are, because of the weather and the storms and everything down there. I mean, and roofers taking advantage of them, I think, is what I've heard too. And they are really just, yeah, gun shy about the age of a roof in Florida. It's crazy.
yeah, and that's another reason why now in Florida for us buyers, like we have to take that into account when making an offer and
Yep.
negotiating with the sellers, because if you have a roof that is, X amount of years, that could be a
Hmm.
concern. If it's older than, I don't know, 14, 15 years, all of a sudden
Yep.
you could have issues with insurance.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that would be the kind of things that you have to now take into account as well
Exactly. You got to
when
budget
buying
in
these
a
properties.
$10,000 roof. Yep.
I
Yeah.
have a
Even if the
lesson
roof is in
learned.
perfect condition, which
Yeah,
is
I
ridiculous
know.
having to replace something that is perfectly fine.
I know. It's like saying, oh, this car was painted 10 years ago. It's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine. It's not like it's, yeah. It's just but that's how it is. Every state, every area has its quirky things, and we love it there. There's areas that reason why people love going there, but that's when you want to own property there. That's the games or the hoops you got to jump through, I guess.
Right.
So I have along those lines about the roof and insurance. I have a lesson learned to kind of build on last week's review of my inspection report that I share with the group.
Mhm.
So the insurer that I use for my properties is Tower Hill, which I got from my mortgage broker as a reference, and they gave me a real good price. Apparently, they do a lot of rentals. And when I asked them about insuring that property, if they give me a quote on it, they said, well, how old's the roof? And I said, well, it was replaced in September of 22. So it's like brand new. And they said, oh, well, are you getting an inspection on it? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, you know, can you send us the inspection so we can see what they say about the roof? And I said, yeah, no problem. And I thought about just sending them the section with the roof on it, but I just sent them the whole report. They came back and took all that stuff in the report and denied. They said, we will not cover this
But
problem.
yeah, but let me ask you something about that, because normally the insurance companies, all they need, and this is something that my agency actually tells me all the time, don't send me the full inspection report. We don't want to work with that. All we need is the 4-point inspection.
Yeah.
So is that what you send them, right?
Yeah,
The
well,
4-point
like I
inspection?
say, it's a newbie mistake for me, man.
Yeah,
see,
because
what's
remember,
funny,
the
I won't be
Basilio,
SSO,
sending
the
that
better it
again.
is.
that 4-point, you're
Yeah.
used to that because you're in Florida. Up
Oh,
here,
okay.
we don't have any of that 4-point. See, we
Oh,
have,
okay.
yeah.
I
So
see.
you have, it's funny if you're not in that Florida market. Not only do you have a
Yeah.
home inspection, but part of that home inspection is your 4-point. What's the other part of it, Basilio? That's the 4-point inspection and your
And the wind mitigation.
yeah, wind mitigation. So you have a
Yeah.
4-point and you have a wind mitigation, and when they want to make sure you've got basically like Ticos or metal strapping holding your roof trusses down to, you know, it's not going to blow off and all that kind of stuff. And that'll make or break you right there. You don't have any of that stuff. And
Yeah, that's all I show from an inspection report perspective to the insurance agency.
yeah,
Just a 4-point, which is basically covering the roof, plumbing, electrical, and the HVAC.
yeah,
And then besides that, just the wind mitigation, but that's it, you know?
yeah. It may be worded something different here, but like until we started
Yeah.
shopping in, you know, the Florida market here a few years ago, I'd never heard of that
Yeah.
terminology the way
Okay.
they phrase it. Yeah, crazy
But
Floridians.
it kind of worked out for the best because I have my primary, you know, I've had Allstate, you know, since I owned a house, and I insure my rentals through another company. And, you know, just for kicks, every time during due diligence, I have other companies give me quotes. And this time Allstate actually came back cheaper than Tower Hill. So it kind of, I almost
That's
didn't
good.
even fool with it, but I almost couldn't believe it, but it kind of worked out for the best.
That's great though. But at least you feel
Yeah.
like you did your due diligence and shopping
Yeah.
around, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, cool.
Hey,
Well, I don't want to
guys.
dominate. If anybody else wants to jump in on there.
I've got an update on our sweating walls poltergeist thing in that quad, and I got an insulation guy out there, and he just sent us a inspection. Can I show you guys what I got and get any feedback?
Yeah, definitely. Something you want to share on screen, you mean?
If I can.
Yep. Should
I've
be
got
able to.
they took pictures in the attic, and then they gave me some verbal feedback also.
Mhm.
All right, so again, this just as a reminder, this is the one where the around various cracks, you know, light switches, outlets, breaker boxes, etc. We have and AC vents. There's sweating, mildew, dripping, that kind of thing, right? Among other problems. So first I'll just share this is what they said. Let's see. Hold on, let me see if I can find the actual inspection language. You know what? I think it's in their email itself. Okay, here it is. All right, so yeah, so they basically said, I examined the top and bottom exterior walls. They're not balloon walls, which I guess is good. HVAC looks solid, intact in the upper attic. Could not examine the lower units. Upper attic is in bad shape with less than R13 insulation and pretty funky. And so they've got these pictures of that just showing what
That's a
that looks.
technical inspector term.
Yeah.
It's pretty funky.
I mean, this down there looks like there's nothing. I mean, it just looks like it's completely just, you know, deteriorated away. I mean, if that's the insulation, that's a joke, it looks like. But I don't know. Yeah, doesn't look like much.
Yeah.
I guess there's something down there. But anyway, so he's saying it's R13. And then he just says that'll handle the upper attic, but may need to come back on a hot day to see about the exterior wall concerns. And then this is their quote. They're going to give me cellulose blown in insulation, topper, 7 to 9 inches of cellulose over existing insulation, filling any voids, create a cumulative R30 across attic above conditioned space, includes adding or extending chutes or baffles in soffit area as needed, or if necessary to maintain ventilation, as well as reattaching or replacing any fallen bat insulation, air sealing where accessible, remove any mess, blah, blah, blah. And evidently we got a bunch of trash up there that we got to get rid of as well. And so anyway, that's what they want to do. It's like $2,500 for that. Yeah. Any thoughts, questions, analysis, anything that seems like it should be different? I mean, obviously there's other angles. There's the AC angle and ventilation, but it sounds like they're going to address some of the ventilation. I haven't talked to him yet. He just sent me this. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it sounds like a good plan. They're going to eliminate a lot of the, I guess, the airflow getting through the ceiling that shouldn't be. I was going to ask, because R30 is typical in a ceiling like that. So if the 9 inches of blown in gets you to R30, that should help a ton. And then, yeah, and then extending the baffles might be necessary because they probably didn't need a baffle of really didn't need a baffle because there was no insulation to worry about.
Yeah, well, when they say baffles, like what does that mean?
Those are so if you're familiar with the eave vents, you know, the screens in your eaves.
Yeah.
And so inside there, they don't want to clog those with insulation, so they'll put, usually it's a big plastic, it almost looks like a painting pan, and they staple it to the roof rafters. That way when they blow the insulation in, air can still come in and out of your vent and keep the air circulating. So if you have the eave vents and you probably have a ridge vent or roof vents,
right,
the air comes in the eave and goes out the ridge. So that just keeps the insulation. And you'll notice too, like if you have a vent going through the attic for the water heater, they'll usually put like a collar, a tall collar around that pipe, just so the insulation doesn't get too close to that pipe, things like that.
Because it would like ignite or melt it or hurt it in some way, create some kind of event that you don't want.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just baffles, it's basically protecting other parts of that area from the insulation itself.
Yep, keeping the airflow clear.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, anyway, I mean, unless there's anything else, that sounds like a pretty reasonable plan for the insulation side. I just want to talk to him about ventilation, and then obviously they're going to examine outer walls to see if there's anything in addition there, but at least it sounds like a start.
Yeah, for sure, because all that old insulation that they have in there is pretty matted down and not doing much of anything, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that. Just visually speaking, it doesn't look like it's helping much at all.
Yeah.
So that would probably explain some of this, if not all of it.
Yeah, I think would explain a big chunk of what's going on for sure. Looks like every time they worked on the unit, they just left the parts there for you. The old parts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is how we do things in Florida, you know. It's just like, I mean, if the job gets done at all, you know, without these guys overdosing or over drinking or something like that, it's like pat ourselves on the back for a hard day's work. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like, or it looks like that would certainly help with any moisture up on that framing in that space too.
What's the lowest you'll go?
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it.
Going back to that baffle in there, it's really important in cold country too. That way you get ice damming if you don't have where air can flow through there and where your roof can breathe. And we had issues with that in the past.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
where does the ice build up?
Usually right about just up from the eave. So if it's say you have your eaves hang over a foot or two, what happens is if it can't breathe and the air gets kind of underneath there, it will, how does that work? It can melt and thaw underneath there a little bit, and then it refreezes. If you look up ice damming online, you can probably see like a quick video or a little diagram of it. But basically what happens is that the ice, like snow, will melt on the roof, and then it will slowly freeze solid. So then as the snow melts, instead of it running down and dripping off the end, it can actually flow back up under your roofing material and leak inside. And so when you get a new roof put on, especially in upper climates, they'll put on that lower 3 or 4 feet. Sometimes they'll actually put on like an anti-roof or anti-leaking type of a membrane for that lower section, even to try to help prevent that kind of stuff too. But I'm probably not explaining it well, but yeah, if you look up ice damming.
So what happens is there's an ice dam, and then
the water that's thawing up above it can't flow and drip off, and so
it leaks it goes right through the roof.
Yep, it's backing up. So if you have like a 3-tab or a composition regular roof, it can back up enough that it starts flowing back up underneath the shingles instead of running down.
Right, that makes sense. And so what you do to get rid of that ice dam is to make sure that there's enough airflow so that ice dam doesn't actually form at all.
Yep. Yeah, like our neighbor, they had kind of a weird pitch where one roof angle came into another, and they were having trouble like every year. It was just it was in a weird area where it wasn't a ventilation problem. It was really just a structural, just kind of a bum design in the way the roof in their house was. And so they ended up just going up there and they put a heat tape. You just put like a zigzag of heat tape, and it was just attached, and it was just permanent, and they just had it wired in up there, and that heat tape just prevented it from ever freezing up, so it could always just drain off and not cause issues and going forward.
Damn, that's nuts.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're gonna, you had mentioned you're in Florida, but if you happen to invest up, say the Northeast or someplace where it's cold, you might keep that in mind.
Yeah, you guys have got a whole nother set of problems there. Damned water leaking right through the roof. We don't quite have that here.
Yeah. Luckily, it's not a huge problem, but I know for some people it can be, and it may just be when the conditions are just right. Like we've had snow, and then it melts, and then maybe at night it refreezes. And so as it goes over the eave, or the cold air is coming up underneath, it's not getting that So that part of it's the ventilation and the way that your roofing is put on. It's kind of multiple things can lead into it, but a lot of it I know is having that good ventilation and stuff underneath there too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, good to see you. Santiago, I was going to ask you, because you're looking in the Florida market as well. Have you gotten far enough in your search to have to deal with the insurance issue when you're analyzing?
I do have a couple of properties already in Florida, so my insurance has, it keeps going up every month. Not every month, but every year. And most recently, I just kind of did an evaluation. I ended up actually, I ended up getting an umbrella policy on top of that. You know, maybe I'm overly cautious. I know that Dion doesn't really subscribe to the LLC, you know, situation, but I know some people do, and I don't mind it because it's pretty much my only income at this point. It's just my rental, so kind of keep a close eye on those. But yeah, my insurance is going up. I haven't had any trouble with cancellations though. I think that's because I never, you know, I almost never reach out to my insurance company unless it's to ask about a certain policy detail that maybe I heard of on one of these, you know, meetups and want to make sure it's included or something like that. But yeah, even the broker, the insurance broker that quoted me on it, or that recently looked at it, said that's pretty cheap. So I'm happy with that. And so yeah, but it is going up. My cash flow has dropped significantly because I also have some HOAs, some properties with HOAs, and those have gone up. Has a lot of assessments. I was just thinking about it right now. If you know, my AC is pretty old and one of the units, you know, it's gonna be a good $7,000 to $8,000 to replace it, I'm sure. And you know, that's gonna kill, you know, a year or two of cash flow at this point because it's, you know, it's cash flowing only like 300 per month, even though I've had it forever, right? Because everything else has been doubling and tripling. So yeah, that's my situation. And I'm basically right now just every time I underwrite something, I underwrite for like worst case scenario. So pretty much whatever they say is on the listing that they're paying per year. I just double it for landlord insurance because it's always gonna be more expensive, right, with landlord insurance than regular property owner's insurance. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand right now. So that's why it's been a little tougher looking up, trying to find a property cash flows. And I'm really looking for something that I'm looking for the biggest bang for the buck at this point. You know, just the most return I can possibly get because I have limited capital at this point, and I'm not going to be able to just accumulate as much as I used to. So yeah, so it's a slow process right now for me.
Yeah, I know we've been on the ride with you. So you know how the guys talk about when you've had a property for years and you've been able to sock away reserve money for heating and air conditioning and stuff like that, and that those repairs don't actually come out of cash flow.
Yeah.
That's just a thought, but
put it aside, you wouldn't consider it as coming out of cash flow because you've already sort of, you know, so yeah, it makes sense, but it still kind of hurts because I have to replace that. I have a roof to replace on one of the properties. I have two roofs really to replace on, so you know, I might end up, you know, with like a 50K bill, just trying to put everything nice and functional.
Yeah, I can't imagine what your guys' roofs cost there in Florida. Is that like insanely expensive because of the hold downs and the wind resistance and all that stuff?
So the quotes that I've received range from 8,000 to 12,000. 8,000 is from a guy that knows my brother. He's supposed to be licensed and insured, so I don't know why he's so much cheaper, but I guess, you know, I don't know, just looks for gets more business that way, I suppose. Yeah, but
yeah, I think it depends also on the city because like I have a property in Miami and I know for me, for example, on this property, it's a flat roof. So if I were to replace it, last time I checked with my property manager, he was telling me about close to 20,000 to replace that roof. With today's prices, you know, in Miami. But the same roof or an equivalent roof right in Jacksonville, which is where I mainly have all my properties, will be probably half of that money or a little bit less than that. I mean, I do know somebody too in Jacksonville that will give me a better price than the big companies, but definitely, you know, within Florida, you have different markets and pricing depending on the market you're in inside of Florida.
Yeah, they're gonna charge you Miami prices.
Yeah, Miami's just crazy right now.
I live in Miami right now. Where in Miami do you have it? Edgewater or Doral or
So I mean, the property is in Westchester.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to find something near this area, but it's hard.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
I don't want to play the equity game either because prices are starting to drop as well.
So Frank, I think what we need to do is have everybody take the next down payment they're saving and pool it together in a fund and start a roofing company in Florida.
That sounds like a good plan.
Frank can be the president.
I was just gonna say, that Sean, that everyone, like you guys should develop a side hustle there as a roofers too. At least for your properties.
There's well, you talked about the flat roof Basilio. Is that so? What is that, TPE or something? The material's called for, because it's not like the old hot mops anymore, right? Tar and gravel. It's like a rubber membrane these days.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I mean, I can send you some pictures of the roof if that helps, but I'm not sure exactly what material it is.
Yeah, I was just curious because the roofers here use it on flat or low pitch roofs, and it's like bulletproof, but it isn't cheap.
Yeah, and the worst part is that we're talking about 20,000, and I heard that those flat roofs don't last as the other type of roofs. Like I heard about something about like 10 years only, something like that, for a flat roof. That's the life expectancy.
Yeah, I think 10 years is probably a typical warranty. We were looking at a brick building in St. Louis, and the roofer had just put on a brand new flat roof, and he guarantees them for 10 years. But you know, just like you were saying earlier, one of the things I think that helps a roof last long is that people don't get up there trouncing around every week. You know, we have my mom had a property near an airport, and every year they would do an air show. So all the tenants would get up on the roof and party on the roof while they were watching the airplanes and stuff. I mean,
oh my God.
That sounds like a prohibition to put in the lease. No air show parties on the roof.
Right. Yeah, we had to start denying them access. But you guys were talking about, you know, insurance, and here in California, it seems like now everybody's in a fire zone. So we got a notice this year that we're going to be, I guess it's an added insurance for, we're not in I guess we're not in a super high fire zone, but we're like in the middle. So our insurance is still going up. But then this past year, they sent us a notice that they were going to cancel us because I had piles of garbage around the house. And when I asked the agent about it, they sent pictures, and they were satellite photos of our house. And sometimes, you know, I'm a contractor, so if we do a small job and I have a little bit of sheetrock or a little bit of metal, they don't take everything together at the dump. You have to take it in separate loads. So I would put a small pile in the yard until I had enough to go to the dump. And that's what they had pictures of. And it was like from the year before, the stuff was gone for months, and they sent the picture that they got. So they almost canceled us for that. I had to send them pictures of the yard. They wanted pictures of the roof, the pictures of the front of the house from the street, the back of the house. And luckily they accepted the pictures, but like you guys said, they're looking for any reason to cancel. That was farmers. We're with farmers. So I need to be careful because of that too.
I have a question for the group. Have anyone dealt with the snakes at their rental properties? And you know, it can be in wet weather, or can be in maybe the warm weather, like in the south. It seems like there's my tenant found one, and a small one in the house, and she was freaking out, and I went today and looked at it and looked at the house. I didn't find any like holes that shows something or sort of like a path to go from the outside to the inside. I sprayed some powder around the house. It's made for snakes, but I'm concerned. Like you know, we don't know what kind of snake it is, and so even though even though it's a small snake, there might be, she's basically freaking out, and I'm with her and trying to do trying to do anything I can to help her with that. So it's either me or the snake.
Did it
And
did it
so
get into the house
any
or was it just on the
suggestion?
property?
I'm sorry.
Did it get inside the house or was it outside just on the
Yeah.
property?
So the scenario is there's a neighbor. His house was a rental, and the tenant left, and that was probably a few months ago. And what happened was this landlord it seems like it's one of those slumlords who don't really take care of the property. So what happens is that they left the grass high for probably several months, and so last month or so she saw a snake outside, and she right away she found someone to kind of treat the property from the outside, and hopefully hoping that nothing come across to her to my house. And but yeah, so it's just 2 days ago, and she found one inside, which is like a small one, but she's freaked out, of course, and so how did it get in? I'm not sure. She doesn't know too, because she keeps the doors closed. But yeah, so this is kind of the scenario, and I wonder if anyone dealt with maybe treating snakes in the inside or outside, or what? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, what kind of house is it? Is it a slab on grade or does it have a crawl space underneath it?
It's a slab house. It's a slab house, yeah.
It's a slab. That's actually good because there's less area for them to be able to get in underneath it. But I would just
that's
say,
true.
so whatever, I mean, a dryer vent, if it's not sealed up, is a pretty good spot where one could come in through a dryer vent if they could, if it's pretty low to the ground. I would just take a walk around the house and just make sure everything's got, if there's any kind of a venting or something or trees touching the house, make sure nothing's going to crawl across and get, in or down a vent or something. But a dryer vent could be pretty easy because they can crawl through that and work their way right up through the dryer and then crawl out onto the floor somehow maybe, but especially a little guy.
Yep, that's a great suggestion. And she was mentioning that she said, is it possible that they went through the washer and dryer room? And so what I did today is I bought like a little they call it mesh or a sieve from Home Depot, and I went outside to the dryer vent, and it put an extra layer of that kind of screen to protect that from being there, and as well as any other. I kind of patched some holes around the house if I found some, but yeah, so it's interesting. I know that they can get into the dryer vent, because if they go to the dryer vent, they can go to the dryer, right? So
You would think, yeah, I'm with Josh. Any place that even like a mouse could get in, I would think a snake could get in. So just any little holes like that. And I've heard of that happening to some people where they actually somehow brought the snake into the house with them, like, I don't know, in camping bags or different things like that, And it would make me feel better to find out what kind of a snake it is. If it's just a garden snake, I might sleep better. than a baby rattlesnake or something like that.
Yeah, got no idea. She doesn't know. I have no idea. So we're kind of in this boat now, and we're trying to just get rid of.
Tell her it's part of your rodent prevention.
Yeah, she doesn't have mice.
Yeah,
She just
yeah.
has,
There's no mice in the house.
There you go. There you go.
And when you
Yeah,
get tired of the snake, get a mongoose.
does I would wonder if that, that Google thing that you can take a picture of something and it tells you what it is. Does that work for animals too? Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, so you might do that, Sam. Well, I have an Android, but there's a Google, what's it called?
Google image search type thing. Yeah.
Google Lens.
Yeah.
And if you turn it on and point it at whatever you are trying to identify, it should come back with some kind of a response to tell you what kind of a snake it might be.
So that Google Lens, is it an app by itself, or is it just
No, it's
take
just
a picture?
no,
Take a picture by phone.
If you have an Android, you have the search bar, the Google search bar.
Right.
And then mine shows a little microphone, and it looks like almost like a little camera next to the microphone.
That's right.
It's right on here on the search bar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
No.
if you push that, and you could point it at different stuff, and it'll tell you what it is.
Oh, that's such a great idea. Okay, that definitely that helps. I haven't thought about that. I haven't used it. So yeah, I'll actually tell her that, and maybe instead of trying to chase it, take a picture of it.
Right, and too, you might reach out to some local exterminators and let them know. They might have some other thing that you could put around the house, like you mentioned the powder, but you might have to do that for a couple of months, 2, 3, 4 months, just to make sure it's repelling whatever creatures they are.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where his property is located, but in the South, we throw mothballs out.
Mothballs seem to keep a lot of stuff away. They're good for rodents as well, right, Val? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm in North Carolina, and so I get, I'll see a copperhead at least, once, twice a year. We got black snakes too. I don't bother the black snakes, but the copperheads, yeah, they can definitely do some damage. But yeah, so we throw mothballs. Dollar General, go get some mothballs, or you go to Tractor Supply and get the little snake away. I think what is Snake Be Gone off of Amazon. I know, like during the springtime, they'll run like a 2 for 1. I think you can get like 2 bottles. I want to think, and don't quote me on this, but I think if you read the background, I think between like cinnamon and cayenne pepper, that Snake Be Gone. But I mean, it's just stuff. Like I said, I'm in the South. I cannot stand snakes. So, but yeah.
Sam,
yeah.
I bought a place last year, and I never saw a snake, but it's a duplex, and in the garage on one side and out on the deck on the other, I found, snake away and snake powder and stuff. So I'm pretty sure there was some there, but it must have worked because no one's ever complained. So.
And you saw that inside of the house, Sean?
It was I never saw a snake, but I saw like, a lot of the snake prevention products, like a couple of bags of it in the garage. And I think they put some around somewhere because there was a awful smell like at first. And I think that's where it was coming from.
Got it.
So it must have worked because none of the tenants have ever complained about snakes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Michael says he's got smoky brown wood roaches. That doesn't sound pleasant.
Yeah, it's not like an infestation because they're not that kind of roach, but they're just like they just live here because it's warm and humid and they like that. And then every couple of weeks I'll go downstairs or whatever and there's be one dead on the floor. So they wander in and then die. but it's still annoying because you just walk down there. It's like, oh, there's a dead bug. I haven't figured out how to keep them out yet. I've done the barrier spray, but nothing ever seems to like keep them from coming in the first place.
The barrier spray must be working.
Oh yeah, they definitely all die. It's just I just wish they would die while they're still outside, not on my kitchen floor in the basement.
There's you guys in the chat are talking about insurance. There's a guy, he's an insurance broker as well. If you might want to give him a ring, he's been really good for us in the past. His name's Tyler Curley, and I think you can just Google his name and he'll come up. But he's a broker as well. We worked with someone from NREIG for a while until we found in St. Louis we're working with a guy from Shelter Insurance that's been really good for us too. So yeah, Tyler Curley, he's with Path Insurance Solutions. Let's see if I can put that in there too. So what else is going on? Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Frank.
Yeah.
Anybody have an opinion on the difference or the preference between like a water tank and a I think it's a waterless tank heater?
A tankless water heater?
Yeah.
Or an on-demand unit? Yeah. A lot of people like, well, in my experience, a lot of people like those because you're not constantly heating water in a 30 or 40 or 50 gallon water heater. And they have different sizes, right? So depending if your house has one bedroom or one bathroom, you can get a smaller one. And that water heats up so fast. If you're using natural gas, is probably the best. They do make electric ones that aren't as efficient, but a natural gas on-demand water heater is pretty nice and efficient. They're pretty easy to kind of put wherever because they can go in a closet. You know, they still need to be vented to the exterior of the house, but now the guys are even using it sounds counterintuitive, but instead of metal vent pipes, they can use PVC, which is plastic. And you can see examples of them at Home Depot, but there's a few really good brands. I'm trying to think of what we used to use. But I think those are just a couple of the benefits. They don't take up as much space and they're not always heating water all the time. And they do heat up fast. So you get hot water pretty instantly.
The space, I think that's kind of why I was leaning towards it. Because I have the laundry for the house is in the same room with the tank heater and all that. So it's it's a 3-family, so it's really tight to fit multiple dryers and washers there. So I think I'm gonna have to take out at least one of those water heaters and replace it with a tankless just to make some extra room to put in or at least to give them the option to put in a separate laundry unit there for the other floor. Because I know that they want laundry. I don't want to buy it for them unless maybe it's some sort of incentive for them to stay. I'll just buy something, raise the rent a little bit, and then they're happy for another year or two. But otherwise, I really leave it up to them whether they want to install one or not. But right now, they can't even install one because there's no room. So that was my main question. Plus, it's probably time to replace them anyway. It's a house is 40 years old, right? And
how many units would it service, Santiago?
We'll just service one. So there's 3 units, and they each have a tank.
Three units.
Yeah, 3 units.
Yeah, if you can get a big one, if you can get a big one, the math might make sense because they're going to be a lot more expensive than a individual water heater. But if you could get one of the big ones that could service multiple units, because they last a long time. So if you figure like you're replacing a water heater, you know, maybe as soon as 7 years, and you got 3 of them versus you got one tankless that's going to last 20 with a warranty, the math might work on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have to check because they're paying their own gas and electric, so they pay their own utilities. I don't know if I'd be able to.
I know the lumberjack likes them, but I think he pays utilities in a lot of his units. So
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to save money on some of that stuff too. So it might save them money. It won't save me because they pay the utilities, but it might save them money. It might be an incentive for them to stick around a little bit longer. So yeah, I think next time I'm in New Jersey, I'm gonna maybe look into.
Yeah, I put 3 brands that we've worked with before in the chat. Ream is the one that Home Depot was selling, but Renai and Takagi are like the upper echelon of those types of water heaters.
I've heard of Ream. They're a little bit less expensive, but they're pretty good. I heard, right? Ream.
Yeah, Ream. Yeah, I would consider maybe the Ream ones. I don't think like the regular tank or gas water heaters have, you know, 6, 9, and 12-year warranties. I don't think I've ever seen a warranty like that on a Tankless, but it's been a little while since we've installed one. And then, you know, I think some of the ones we were seeing for the larger units are $1,200. And then there is a little bit of rework for the plumbing, you know, plumbing and venting and stuff. So that would be part of the expense as well.
Yeah, I heard it's a little bit more expensive to install too. But I think it's probably in the long run. I just wanted really to make sure nobody was saying, hey, you know, don't do it.
Yeah, no, I have quite a few. I know quite a few people that have them in their homes, and they're really happy with them.
Okay, then I think it's definitely something I'm gonna go with then. When it's time to replace it, you think I should? I mean, I don't know. This might be a silly question, but you think I should probably? I shouldn't wait until it goes out, right? I should probably, or I should probably replace it ahead of time. I mean, just to kind of keep maintenance going. Because I don't know how long this other water heater might be good for. You know, like it might be good for another 5 years.
Yeah. Are you able to find out the age of that water heater, or do you know it?
I don't know it. No, I got to make a trip to Jersey, and I'm just to look at the house and get a little visit, and I'll take a look there. But you're right. There's probably a lifespan, right, for each.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be stamped on it. I would think if it was 10 years or older, I might consider going ahead and doing it.
Yeah, right.
Santiago, if the tenants are paying the utilities, what would be the advantage to you to go ahead and get it now versus waiting until when you had to replace the water heater? Because new stuff might come out that's even better, right?
Yeah, that's
my
true.
thought.
The only reason is that I don't go to. Well, I used to live in Jersey, but I don't go often. So I do want to go and make one trip and then get kind of everything out of the way, so to speak. So if that's something that can be changed, I can take care of it now. And you know, when I do go. The other reason too is just kind of like I said, you know, just to create more space and give them the option to install washer dryers. You know, they might love it there with a washer because I've seen them. I have security cameras, so I know they go out to do their laundry because there is no washer dryer there. So that's a big convenience.
Go ahead.
It would just be an incentive, I think, other than just trying to get ahead of it. Just be an incentive for them.
Have they asked for it, Santiago, or is this something you just dreamed up?
They haven't asked for it. Well, so again, it's a 3-family, right? One of the families has their own washer dryer. One of the families wants washer dryer. They asked for it. I told them I wouldn't be the one to install. They will have to get it themselves. I don't know what hesitation is, other than maybe they think it's too small a space. But no, they haven't really asked for it. But I have somebody on the ground floor that has asked for it, and I'm considering maybe getting a plumber and electrician or something, and making some room for water for him to add to that as well. Because right now in that area, there's a lot of the units, there's a lot of new buildings, and they have all the conveniences, right?
Oh man, yeah, you might consider it.
Yeah, so might have to.
Yeah.
How much it would cost.
It might
I
be,
guess it depends on
might be
demand.
defense.
Yeah, I guess it depends on demand. When you have vacancies, are you able to fill it pretty fast?
This is a new property of mine. I've had it for maybe 3 years, but I've generally, yeah, I've been able to, well, actually, no, I had it for more now, 5 years, but yeah, I've been able to, I mean, within a month, I guess, if that's good, I think that's good for me. I don't know how Dion says that his shortest vacancy was 40 days, I think.
Totally different market though. I
Yeah.
mean, nut jobs. It's crazy up there. I know because I'm 3 hours south of them, and it's nuts around here. Same. I don't rent here, but I know when things do, they go so fast.
Oh, really? Yeah, a lot of demand. Yeah. No, I mean, within the month, I had a lot of applications for those properties, because what I did is I was living in them, renovating them, and then I moved out. That's when I came to Florida once I finished renovating. And it took about a month or so to rent it out. You know, we had applications. I just wasn't sold on some of the applicants. But yeah, I mean, depends. The higher it's it's not a high end. Well, it's a pretty nice property, right? So it's it's spacious. It's granite. It's new. New appliances, stainless steel. It's pretty much what you would, I guess, consider a little bit towards the high end. So I do charge a little bit more than what a typical unit would go for there. But then above me, you have the actual high end, right? The new build that's being brought up over there, and that's significantly more expensive, right? Like there'll be they're mine is a 2 bedroom. Each unit is a 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom. I'm charging like 22, 23. The same in the new buildings is probably going for like 3,300 around there, right? Like it's like $4,000 more expensive, because they have a gym, they have in-unit laundry, they have a pool, all that nice stuff. And then you have the same units that I have, but not renovated, and those would go for like maybe around like 17, 1,800. So I'm charging maybe like an extra 400 to 500 for a renovated unit. For me, it kind of worked. It makes sense to me, because that's also a place that I would want to live in, and that was my goal. It's not the best strategy, but I'm trying to buy now where places that I would want to live in.
I try to see what the going rate is for an updated place with washer and dryer, and see what those are going for, if you can find those, and see what you come up with.
Yeah.
And then also, obviously do the cost versus ROI analysis, and bake in that 1 month of vacancy. Because I don't know, but I'm going off what Dion says. The people that don't have washers and dryers, they're just waiting to find a place with washer and dryers.
Yeah, I'm trusting that the people that do live there, they work like 5 minutes away, so they would have to find something really, really close that they like. Plus my street, I got lucky. My street is a really nice part of the town. Tree line, quiet, looks like the suburbs type of thing. But you have all the other shops and stuff, whatever.
Does it snow there?
It does snow there, yeah.
So in the wintertime, if I'm a tenant, I'm just thinking about this. I would hate to go out in the snow with my clothes and go to a laundromat and do all that stuff and then come back. But then again, I don't live in the snow, so maybe it's second nature to people. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do that when I lived all my life there in Jersey. That I would have to do that myself. So yeah, you get used to it, I guess. But no, you're right. I mean, I'm really leaning towards adding another unit for another connection for the first for the ground floor, which they don't have anything, and also replacing that water heater with a tankless to make space for the other unit as well. So might end up doing that. Like I said, I'm kind of approaching some major expenses here. I got a couple of roofs, possibly an AC, maybe this add-on coming up, but it's it's all part of the game. It's kind of it's already budgeted, but it still still hurts. Unless we launch that roofing company, then
Yeah. You guys are in the market. You'll have to take all the applications for the roofers and do all the drug screenings.
A buddy of mine starting up a property management company for co-living in Arizona. So I told him I'd be one of his first customers.
There you go. That'd be something maybe a little bit more expensive, like short-term or mid-term.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, he'll probably get it because I'll pay it. Right now I'm paying 15% and I do the maintenance.
Right.
But he said he would do it for 15% and do everything soup to nuts. So I'm like, dude, sign me up. As soon as my lease is up in January, I think I might try him out. By then I'll know if he's doing well. He's already got, and they're long-term tenants. They're not week to week. He's just got his house done. He had a lawyer threaten him some stuff, and you guys will like this. He took one of his, he's got 9 properties in Arizona. He did a pad split. He liked the model, but he doesn't like pad split, same as me. So he took one of his long-term rentals and he turned it, added bedrooms, brought it on the market. But as he did, he was marketing before, as it was being renovated. Turns out a couple of houses down, there's a real estate lawyer. So he gets this letter in the mail and says all this stuff. And so he called me and I said, if it was me, man, I'd tell him, look, I've already spent all this money on this renovation. I guess if I can't run a long-term rental or run a co-living, I'll just go ahead and do a sober living. And so that's what he did. He told him that because legally, there's a couple companies that you can't stop that, right? And the lawyer probably knew that. And so he said, oh, and then Steven, this guy's name, my realtor, he's like, but I could do this. I'm a really good operator. I have great people and all that. So the guy backed off. You want to play some hardball? We'll play hardball, So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No more questions, no more issues. Anybody excited about football starting this week? I know Mark is. He's doing the fantasy football league. I think was he on some drunken podcast or something? Where they were doing the draft.
Yeah, he posted that on Dion's thing the other day, and I was like, oh, okay. I think he was.
Yeah,
drinking.
you guys never heard of drunk real estate like Jay Scott and AJ Osborne? Who else? Ashley Wilson. Yeah, Jay Scott he's with Bigger Pockets. He has that book, Real Estate by the Numbers, I believe. He has a lot of books with it.
The Bigger Pockets guy.
Yeah, Jay Scott and AJ Osborne is the what you would call it, self-storage guy, the big self-storage investor. Yeah, so they were asking for guys to play on their podcast. So I just messaged. I said, hey, I'll play if you guys need guys. So they emailed me and said, yeah, we need more guys. So just jump in and yeah.
Nice. You got in. I've heard of drunk real estate agents, but not drunk real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, their podcast is pretty fun. They got those 4 guys are always on. Actually, Anna Kelly's kind of starting to be a little bit of a regular on their podcast now.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Zuber was talking about how he and she have totally different views of how things are going to go in the economy and things. It sounded like she was hunkering down for a really, really bad recession, and he's still more of the rolling recession kind of scenario.
I gotta lean towards Anna Kelly on that one. I follow macroeconomics, and do you guys follow obviously the bond market, but the future swaps? Long and short of it is, right now, in the past, you can make money, risk-free money. And right now the delta is you can make 0.8 tenths money on your dollar plus $1. So you can make $1.80 on each one of your, and obviously this is scales in the millions or whatever, and they're not doing it because they figured that the risk is so high, like that's not a good sign, right? So I'm like, oh my God, that's not good. And if you watch that 2-year inverted yield curve, it's been bouncing off the rev limiter the last couple of weeks. It's crossed a few times, and I know everybody says, "Oh, this time's different," but I'm like, dude, I heard that back in 2007. I didn't really hear it in 2001 because I wasn't really doing anything. But if you listen to the experts, they say that that's what they say every time, and they go back and quote things, and I'm like, all right. And for me, all you gotta do is go to the grocery store, right? Like I'm gonna go ahead and go on a limb here and say most of us here are doing okay. We're saving to buy real estate, so we're probably on average a little higher than the norm. And so you got to figure, like Anna Kelly is saying, that a lot of like, hell, dude, when the Dollar Tree was losing 25%, that's not good. And you seen all this trade down, which Zuber talks about, but it's really, really bad. And I know that Zuber talks about the commercial real estate extend and pretend. Well, the bankers I've been talking to, and I would love to hear what Matt knows on that topic. But the commercial real estate, man, they can only extend that stuff for so long. And you got this negative. I know the Japan thing was a negative carry trade, but that kind of stuff is happening all over the place. So if it goes on any longer, it's going to be pretty bad, I think.
And with feeling that way about it, but you're still looking to purchase more.
Yeah. And I'm doing that because, I mean, look at it from my point of view. The last house I bought for 120 grand off, right? And it cash flows with my strategy, and I'm super stoked. And so, yeah, I'm trying to find another one as quick as I can, because when the rates drop, I think people like us on this, like I'm sitting with cash on the sidelines and I'm nobody. I can't imagine what the big boy, like Zuber, right? Or other people are out there just sitting there salivating, right now, looking, because you can, what do they say? Marry the price, date the rate, or something like that. That's my mindset, man. Like, cool, I can buy a house cheaper now. Yeah, I'm paying my one is 765. I could refinance now for 6.5. It doesn't make any sense. I'm waiting to get to like a 5 handle, or maybe a low 5, or hell, maybe even a 4 handle. Like I'm cash flow now. I'm gonna just kind of wait, maybe Q1, Q2 next year, man, and this refi. And I've done the math. If I can get a 5.5 for my 765 on all the properties, because one's a 6.25, one's a 7.5, one's a 765, it's an extra $1,500 to me. So if I don't take any cash out, which I might, so I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, I gotta get another one.
Yeah, it's good to hear your point of view.
Sorry, Frank, that just before I forget, because I forget easily. That brings up a good point, right? Because do you wait for that to, do you wait for that to happen, for that, recession or depression, hopefully not a depression, right, but a recession to occur? Because the other thing I've heard too is that it may be a recession, but it might be a shallow one. Like it's not going to be as significant as some of the ones that we've seen in the past. And in my mind, I was thinking of kind of waiting for. I'm listening to Zuber, and I was I'm thinking, right, if I can't find anything in the 2 to 4 family now, maybe I should just keep looking, right? I'm still gonna keep looking, still do the work and whatnot, but maybe aim for something like a 5 and up when the pain comes around in 2025, which according to Zuber, it's very likely to happen. So I don't know. You guys, I guess you guys aren't planning on waiting, right? You don't have no expectation of that.
Well, I'm not, but that what you're talking about there, if Frank finds out that you can do, well, you can do 5 to 8 with Convoy. So what you do is you find someone's got commercial debt on that, go out, buy it from them, and put 30-year fixed rate debt on it. Right.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I gotta wait for that I gotta wait for those prices to drop significantly, or at least I don't know if they're in that pain point yet, the 5 and up. I think they're approaching it.
I don't know about you, but I'm seeing it now. But this is Arizona. Like it was at 585, and it took us 3 months of constant blah 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 blah. got that one to 465. The other one I picked up was listed for 449. I picked that up for 395, and they're listed at that. And you, like Zuber says, do the work, make disrespectful offers. I mean, I'm like a disrespectful guy apparently, because I'm just like, But hey, man, you like he says, you don't need. I mean, I don't know. My real estate agent's pretty cool because he'll throw out all the offers I want, and so you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. I think I want to say the return rate's like less than 0.5% or maybe 1% at best, as far as firing out all the offer. You know what I mean? Bam, 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 and most of them just say piss off or whatever. But hey, like Zimmer says, you only need one.
What's your market?
Arizona, Phoenix Metro. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. That's. I mean, when I hear those prices, it's like, man.
Yeah, they're high, but.
Oh no, I thought that was cheap.
Oh really? Oh okay. Well,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
but those are prices for like duplexes in Florida, depending on the area. But yeah, that's part of my journey, I guess you can call it now, is trying to find the right buybacks where I can, make my money go a little bit further. Everything's just seems like it's expensive here. I'm honestly not sure if I'm making the right call to stick with Florida because the HOAs, insurance, weather, right? All these things are real detractors for the average person, and But then I think about well, maybe if I get something near Disneyland, right? I mean, Disneyland's going to be there for a little bit, as long as they didn't fight with DeSantis anymore. Maybe some of the Universal, they're all there. They're not going to go anywhere. The beaches are not going anywhere. So maybe I can find something near the beaches. But yeah, we'll see. I might have to venture out somewhere to the west or something like that.
Do you guys listen to Pat Bet David at all?
Not regularly, but yeah, I've heard his podcast occasionally.
Yeah, he's in Florida, and obviously he's loaded. But he was talking about, and it's not Angelo's, but he goes to restaurants a lot, and he was talking about this restaurant he went to a week or two ago, and it was dead. Right? And he's like, "What's going on?" He's talking to the owner, and the owner's like, "Look, man, we're dropping 13% week over week." He goes, "I need you to keep coming in here to stay in business." And this is in Miami, so I mean that's kind of scary. That's just one person's point of view and one little story, but I was like, wow.
Oh, that actually matches up with my experience. I don't go out, barely go out, but I happened to go out this maybe I think it was last week, Friday, I think it was, or Saturday. No, Saturday. Saturday night, it was maybe like 10 o'clock, 11 p.m., right? When theoretically everybody's out hanging out in Miami, whatever. And the restaurant was pretty empty. A couple people by the bar. There was people outside walking around, but it seemed like they were just kind of like window shopping, enjoying the nice weather, but nobody really spending. So yeah, there's a lot of turnover particularly in that area.
I think there's some markets that are scared, right? And up here too, because Intel just laid off 15,000 people, but what they didn't say publicly is they let 10,000 people take the volunteer separation program, which we just finished that up. So now we got another 15,000 people were laying off. Yeah. And when they announced that, all the businesses around here just instantly slowed. Intel's a big, company around here, and the businesses slowed down. Even people that had jobs and all that, they all slowed down because they're scared, right? So there's that psychological effect too. So see what happens.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've been seeing as well. Is a lot of, and I don't know if that's just the algorithm catering to my, Google searches or whatever, but in YouTube, I keep seeing more about layoffs coming around. And I've been part of that. I actually took a severance package. So I'm technically going to be unemployed next month, but
I did too.
Yeah. So congratulations. Yeah. Yeah, it was the right move, I think. People think I'm crazy, but yeah, no, the companies are either laying off or offering packages.
Yeah. I mean, I just went back to work again at Intel, but I took the package, took a year off, got paid for the entire year, and then got a signing bonus to come back. And then use that whole year to spin up everything, buy 3 houses. I mean, it was awesome, dude. You couldn't plan that better.
Yeah.
Got lucky.
That's good. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, right? Because like I think it was in 2022 when everybody was saying that 2023 was going to be a recession. Everybody was sure. I mean, everybody was sure. The experts were sure. I forget what Zuber was saying about it, but I don't think I was really into Zuber's content at the time yet. But everybody's, I mean, they scare me. I sold off some of, well, most of my the side money, the play money that I call on Merrill Lynch to investing. I even sold it off at a small loss because I was like, you know, a small loss is better than losing it all. And you know, next thing you know, 2023 is one of the best years in the market.
Yeah.
Not like son of a bitch, you know. That's when I stopped listening to the experts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll hear them. I'll see what they have to say, but you know, I won't go all in on.
Right. No, I don't listen to any of the mainstream stuff. You know, I listen to the weirdos like Jeff Snyder and George Gammon and you know those kind of guys. So
Yeah, my main sources are now Zuber and his guests, and what's the stock guy? How do I forget his name? He goes on Uber as well. Dan Bird.
Dan, yeah, that's a smart dude.
He makes. Oh man, I wish I'd listened to him every time he talks because I could have tripled my money already.
Yeah, Dan Bird and Gammon have the same. Gammon's an amateur, but he talks to a lot of the big hedge fund guys. He goes down to St. Bart's and he talks to all the like big guys. So he says. I mean, I believe him, but seems like he's picking up some good information. I don't do the stocks. I just watch it because I think it's fun.
3 simple steps.
Is that what it is?
He does the way he talks and like breaks things down into his little steps and stuff.
Yeah.
George, he's got a good way about it.
I like that he goes right into it. He doesn't sit there and drag it on for 8 hours like everybody else. Like, oh, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Like, that's why I can't stand watching that Meet Kevin guy. He's just annoys the shit out of me. So,
Yeah. I like George. George, I think early on I liked him more. Now it seems like his editing and stuff. I think it says, I like the editing and everything, but sometimes I think he gets a little sensationalized on stuff or whatever, where sometimes it's like, I don't know.
yeah. Even
yeah.
Jeff Snyder's starting to do that too. And I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah. I don't watch near as much as I used to, but I jump around, I guess, just to try to get a little variety.
So long term, we're going to have less of a middle class. And then all these assets are just going to keep going up in price because you got BlackRock and the billionaires buying up everything.
I'd say that's
So
probably
really-
true in North Carolina, but I don't know about everything.
So things like jobs don't really matter anymore.
Well, I think
Because
we're
they're
all
not the
doing.
buyers anymore. The middle class is not the buyer anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think all of us are doing the right thing by having assets. So, you know, when these guys start printing again to get us out of this crap, then unfortunately inflation is going to go up and then the home prices are going to go up and most of us have fixed rate debt. So that's why I don't like
Yeah, I mean,
commercial debt.
expect the home prices to double from this point forward, you know, because you just have like BlackRock and the billionaires are just, they don't have anywhere else to put the money.
That's what Dion said yesterday or the day before when him and his brother were drinking. Did you watch that one, Frank?
I just caught part of it. I didn't catch the whole thing.
He was saying, because he started getting pretty lit towards the end of that thing. He was like, I was like, damn, he should have done that drunk thing with Mark. But well, they've been drinking all day and they were drinking on the show. And so then he says, well, you know, people in 2027 are going to say, oh man, you could buy a house for under $1 million. Why didn't you buy all of them? You know, and I believe that's true because my dad, you know, bought a house for $28,000, right? You know, those kind of things. And so, you know, now you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's true. When my parents got their first house, they were struggling and it was $16,000. But you all know how old I am. That was a long time ago.
39, right, Frank?
What houses back then?
It's back when they had AOL email addresses.
They didn't even have those yet. The internet wasn't born yet. That was in 1975.
Damn, I was born in 74, Frank.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was think I was in the 6th grade when they got that house. Yeah.
I looked up my childhood home and it's $500,000. It's like a 900 square foot 3-2. I mean, it's just really, I mean, unbelievable. It's a corner lot. I guess it's a corner lot, so that's good, but it's not like anything special.
Sounds similar. Mark must be sleeping because we just gave him a bunch of information and useful.
He said he's biting his tongue.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Is that a question from Esther? Sprinkler blowouts? What is that, Josh?
So in the winter time, you got to blow your sprinklers out, otherwise your valves and your sprinklers can freeze. Usually it's the valve that seems like for me has been the biggest issue. And so in the fall, what will happen is, like in my own personal house, I have in my basement where my water, I can have a shut off for my sprinkler system, and then just past that, I have a air compressor fitting that I put on there. So I hook up my air hose to it and blow air through my sprinkler line and blow all the water out. And a lot of the air lawn care companies all have, the big trailer compressors like you use for the big commercial jackhammers and stuff that have the high volume of air. They'll drive around and it's usually costs between like $30 and $50. And depending on how many valves or how big your house is, kind of thing, or lawn and everything, and they'll hook on and blow the sprinkler out. And those trailers are cool because they can start that thing up and it has so much volume, they can pretty much open up every valve and blow out a house in like nothing flat. And not the house itself, but the actual sprinkler system.
Yeah.
And it'll blow all the water out of it, and then you shut the water off for the winter, and that's how you winterize your sprinkler system.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, things you learn when you don't live in the cold, right?
Right.
Yeah, but because I have my own compressor, I do it myself. But it's a smaller compressor, so I just do each valve at a time. It has to build up pressure again, then I move on to the next one. And I usually cycle through them a couple times just to make sure I blow them out good.
But yeah, got it.
Yeah. But then in my rental properties, usually that's an expense that's put on the tenants. And when I was self-managing, I would offer to the tenants, like, I can bring my compressor over and do it. So I would do that for them to save them the $30-$40. So they always appreciated that. But now that it's with the management company, I don't try to schedule it and go over there and handle it. It's like they just handle it all. So I don't deal with it.
Seems like that would be kind of critical to make sure the tenant did do it, right? How do you make sure that they did? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where that's part of the fall stuff, and then in the spring, it's kind of getting it all turned on and making sure everything's good, and yeah. But yeah, in the spring, I've had to go and replace a valve or two here over the years, or maybe a sprinkler head that got moisture in it and condensation just kind of built up in it or something, and that sprinkler head may have cracked or something. But sometimes it's maybe somebody drove over it too. Who knows? But
U-turn.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Lots of good information tonight.
Yeah. I know I sent Mark a text, and I don't know if he's obviously fallen asleep over there.
No.
When
Yeah, I think maybe he's cooking or something for.
He could be. He's serving and protecting over there.
Hey,
We should
Josh. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, Josh, I posted in the chat there something a friend of mine built. It's a water. His water bill was something stupid, like, I don't know, $400 or $500. So he's like, "What the hell?" So he built this thing to stick on his watering, on his water main. I guess you can see the pictures there. He took a Raspberry Pi, even has the code pasted in the text there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he's a Intel nerd friend of mine, so
It's like his
anyway.
own little water meter, huh?
Yeah. You were talking about sprinkling, and it reminded me of that, so I went and grabbed it and threw it in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. You know, PVC or anything like that, especially because it's so rigid. If it has moisture in it in the wintertime, that stuff will split like nobody's business. So make sure they blow it all out. That's pretty cool though. If it tracks it all.
Yeah, I built myself. I'm kind of a nerd too, IT guy for 24 years, but I built myself my own solar array with a Raspberry Pi also, and I had a plus symbol, and I had light sensors in all four corners. And what it would do is it would just sit there, and the PLC would run, and when the sun came up, it would just track where the sun was at, and it would tilt the 20-foot. So Frank, you like this? I used a Schedule 40 pipe. That's what I had laying around. And then I put the panels on it, and it would tilt. And at the end of the program, it would just, if it didn't sense any more light, it would reset back to the beginning. It would just do that every day. So you can do a lot with Raspberry Pis. If you guys don't know what that is, hit me up. They're amazing little things.
My son went and took a class on that, and it was doing all kinds of little things with, yeah, basically little mini computer.
Yeah, they're cheap. I have one that runs I don't anymore. I've got a X1 Carbon, but I used to get really into 3D printing, but I didn't want to actually unplug. This is dating me a little bit, and unplug the USB, and literally right there, it's 3 feet. Heaven forbid I reach 3 feet and plug a USB, thing in. So I took a USB extension and plugged it into a Raspberry Pi and ran something called Octoprint on it. I didn't build it; somebody else did, and that way I could just submit jobs to my printer that way. Because heaven forbid, 3 feet's too far to reach.
Nowadays it is, yeah.
Some people say that's lazy. I say it's efficient.
That's right. Well, especially you got that Raspberry Pi laying around,
It'd be nice is I need to like remote into networks, with like a remote desktop. I don't know if a Raspberry Pi or an Android tablet would work for a remote desktop.
You can SSH into it, or no, maybe you have to do Telnet. I'm not sure actually on that one. I don't think you can use any Windows-based tools though.
No, I mean Android or something else.
Yeah, so Linux runs on Raspberry Pi, but oh, you know what? I take that back. There is a utility on Linux called R Desktop, and you can use a Windows, what they call a Windows terminal server. I forget it's RCP, I think it is. Anyway, you can remote into an R Desktop. You'd have to install the app, but yeah, you could do that.
Okay, cool.
That was way over my head.
Oh, I'm a manager now, Frank, so I've forgotten more than I haven't done any actual work in like, I don't know, 9 years or something. But back when I was doing IT stuff, there's some memory back in there of that.
Pretty good. Well, it sounds like we might be to the end. Unless anybody
I think I'm gonna jump off here, but it was good hanging with everybody tonight.
Yeah, Josh, really good to see you. Thanks for all the contribution.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love it.
Yeah. So. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you. I guess we'll see you guys on Sunday, Jared.
Yep.
And well, tomorrow, I don't know who's in Dion's course, but he's supposed to have a course call tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Oh, hey, before you go, Frank, I'm starting to dabble in wanting to do a long-term rental. Should I join Dion's course or Lumberjack's course? What do you guys think? And I don't care about the money. Like, is it?
Well, they both self-manage. I went through this conversation with someone the other day. Matt dives really deep into every aspect of landlording, as you know. Cynthia and I went through his course, and we got a lot of value out of the boot camps. He had a lot of guests on with him, like, his attorney, I think his CPA might have checked in. There was a property manager, a banker, an agent that he works with. So that was all really, really valuable.